Do the new exotic Titan boots truly say goodbye to stasis? As clickbait as that sounds, the new season dropped these, and if hashtag nerf stasis trending on Twitter isn't proof enough, the community has been anxiously waiting for help against the ice. Today I show you exactly how this works using 4 major concepts so that you can go and make clips like this happen.
Oh my. Oh. Oh. What the f is this game? Bro! What the?
Number 1, weapon damage boosting called Firewalker. Number 2, resistance to slow stacks. Number 3, no damage from breaking out of a freeze. And number 4,
say hello to my little friend.
That's right, you get to do some damage back when you break out. Starting with number 1 though, let's talk about the weapon damage boosting. Reading the description, it says that solar final blows periodically grant escalating bonus weapon damage. Remember, it says weapons. When you have this procced, it will not make your abilities like a grenade go up in damage, only your weapons. First off though, what even does pop up? Well, earlier I mentioned that thing called Firewalker. It'll show up on the left-hand side with a 10-second timer. That's how you know you're going to be dealing extra damage. I've confirmed 4 total ways to proc this. A solar ability kill, a solar weapon kill, getting frozen, or getting slowed. Let's cover the easiest ones first. Getting frozen or getting slowed has a 100% success rate of proccing this perk. We'll talk about the damage bonus in a second, but basically every single time you get frozen or slowed, you're going to have a damage boost. When it comes to those other 2 though, solar ability or solar weapon kills, it doesn't proc 100% of the time. There's this RNG factor to them, and I'm pretty sure that's why they used the word periodically in the description. In all of our testing that we gathered, in order to get Firewalker on screen, you need to get anywhere from 1 to 3 kills, but most commonly 2. We did about 20 tests where I would actually just jump off the ledge to reset each time. In some cases, I only needed 1 kill and I got it. Other cases, I needed 3 kills to get it. The vast majority though took 2. On to the fun part though. When Firewalker's on screen, your weapons are going to deal 20% damage. That means a 120 can 2-tap again because it's going to be dealing 108s, or a 140 can 1 body 2 crit since it's dealing 84s and 56s. The catch here is that it stacks. Once you have it on screen, it's actually the same mechanic as before. It's that RNG factor where you need anywhere from 1 to 3 kills to get it to stack. Alternatively, let's say you had it on screen and then you got frozen, well then it would go to ×2 right out the gate. This thing will keep stacking up until ×4. Here's a table showing the damages. For a 120, for example, it does 90 at base, and once Firewalker's on screen, you're going to deal 20% more damage, so 108. With ×2, you're going to deal 113, so that's 5% more than ×1, or you might as well call it 26% more than the base, so similar to Hedrons. If you get ×3 on screen, that's where the bug comes into play, and it actually goes backwards and it does 108 again. We tested this with other weapons and the bug exists across the board in PvP. Back to ×4 though, you'll get a 36% buff from the base, giving you that 122. With regards to stacking from stasis, I mentioned that it has a 100% success rate, but just keep in mind that it has to wear off first. So let's say someone dodged by you, so you were slowed, and then they shurikened you while you were already slowed, you'd only actually have 1 stack. But if they dodged, waited a while, and then shurikened you, then it would stack because that slow had time to wear off first. Another example would be a Duskfield grenade. I could just walk in and out, and get my easy 4x. The last thing I want to mention here is that this is considered a body buff. If you're curious about how stacking typically works, when a character has a body buff, it can stack with weapon perks, but not with other body buffs. For example, Rampage is a weapon perk, so with Firewalker being a body buff, it actually can stack with Rampage and deal 124 at 1x. On the flip side though, let's say you were charged with light, which is a body buff, then you got this Firewalker on screen, which is also a body buff. Those 2 won't stack together. Enough about the damage numbers. Let's go on to number 2, the part where you have some resistance to stasis. I know the description makes it sound like you have freeze resistance, but it's sort of indirect. To get frozen, you either insta-freeze or you get slowed for so long that you acquire this 100x slow stack, which equals frozen. Well, when it comes to getting insta-frozen, that's the same. It doesn't take more to freeze you, the timer doesn't change or anything like that, but when it comes to being slowed, that's where this exotic will actually cut that by 50%. Let's say I'm standing in a dust field normally without these boots. The counter on the left-hand side goes up in increments of 5. Well, if I put these boots on, they actually go up by 2s and then 3s. All that means is it's going up by half the rate. For things like insta-slow, like getting hit by a shuriken or dodging by a hunter like we showed earlier, it only hits you with 20 slow for each one of those instead of 40 like usual if you're not wearing the boots. The good news on that means that a hunter can't dodge and double shuriken you to freeze you. Lastly, the length of actual slow time itself is also cut. It went down from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Concept number 3 is pretty easy. Normally when you break out of stasis, you take damage and it scales with the resilience, meaning 0 resil gets hit harder than 10. These boots just take away that breakout damage completely no matter what resilience you run, which is nice. Concept number 4 is pretty slick. When you do break out of being frozen, not only do you not take that self damage, but you actually inflict a wave or a dome of solar damage outward. Think of it almost just like the mechanic from Severance Enclosure. We did a bunch of testing and that dome has a 10-meter radius around you with damage fall off. I slapped a table on screen just to show you at 0, at 5, and at 10 meters how much that damage does, and I included the stacking situations as well. This is kind of nice because if someone freezes you and you manage to get out before they rush you or while they're rushing you, you're now going to be punishing them as long as they're within 10 meters. I'll admit if they're a really solid player, you're probably dead anyways, but this is still better than without the boots. Today is obviously a first impressions video, being that they're a new exotic, but I can confidently say that in 6s, these are pretty fun. The big question I always get is, should I run these in a 3s playlist, like say Trials of Osiris? I think the biggest takeaway is that it'll make your opponent think twice about using their ability on you, because if they don't guarantee that kill, you now have a damage boost almost as strong as Hedron's or better given the circumstances. I think the reason why these are going to be a meta for a little while is because of the fact there are so many ways to get damage boost in game. You can have Hedrons, you can have Charge with Light, now you can have this, you can have Rampage, you can have Swashbuckler. The list goes on, and so they've almost amplified all of the guns by adding all of these abilities, and that's why like one thing might not seem OP on its own, but when you can equip a bunch of things to have that same effect almost always active, that's where things become a problem. So we'll see where they go with this. As a Titan main, I'm kind of excited to see how this pairs with Whisper of Chains and Rhyme, because if someone decides to throw a cold snap at me and I get out on time, I can throw my ice wall down and now I've got a damage boost, I've got resistance, I can smash through that ice for a super overshield and pretty much guarantee the win. Believe me when I tell you there's more to that Rhyme fragment than you think. My next video is covering those ones and I think your mind's going to be blown by one of the mechanics in them. Oh yeah, fun fact, look what you can do with the new Lance aspect as well. Freeze your own teammate and then they've got the damage boost. Cheers and I'll see you in my next one.